Before I get on with my talk, would you mind if I took a little selfie? When I told my kids that I was coming across to Canada to talk to 300 people, they really couldn't believe that 300 people would actually sit still to hear me talk for kind of long enough. So this is going to be the proof for them. So see if I can get this right. Okay. Did that work? You know what? I'm not even sure it did. I'm not sure it did. Let's do it again. One more time. Yeah, it's not going to reach that far back, I don't think. Anyway, I'm just going to pretend there are 300 people here. They won't know the difference. I have you for half an hour, and I'm going to talk to you about how to leverage your reputation to drive more clicks and calls to your businesses or through to your clients' businesses. As Dev said, my name is Myles Anderson. I am the founder of a company called BrightLocal. We're actually one of the sponsors here today. I've known Dev and Matt for a long time, but I only actually kind of met them for the first time this week. Being kind of based over in the UK, don't get that much chance to come over here, but really delighted that we could be part of InboundCon. I've kind of looked enviously, across the pond at this conference for about 3 years and really kind of wanted to kind of make it over here. And now that we can kind of be here and be an integral part of it, get the chance to meet a lot of our kind of customers who are based over here and hopefully meet some kind of people who will be customers in future has been great. And I've got a few of my team here who've kind of really appreciated being over here as well. For those of you who don't know BrightLocal, we are a local SEO reporting and citation platform. In a nutshell, we aggregate a lot of data that's critical to local search, so things from search rankings, citations, reviews, Google My Business, and we kind of aggregate it all together into a dashboard with like analytics and sort of social data. So anything you want to know about how a local business is performing online, you can do it through our platform. And our citation service is about building and managing local listings on places like Yelp for local businesses, cleaning up any inconsistencies or errors. We've been running a pretty cool sort of map game at our stand where you had to kind of spot a couple of errors on a Toronto map. That kind of ties in with that service. If you haven't played that game, please do. We're going to sort of shut it down in about an hour or so, and you can win a sort of $500 kind of gift voucher for hotels.com to spend whenever you want. As Dev said, we're based in the UK, but actually most of our customers are over here in the US and in Canada. We're kind of specialists in local search. That's been our bread and butter. That's been our kind of background. And by way of kind of deepening our own knowledge and also helping our customers deepen their knowledge, we do a lot of research into things like consumer habits and consumer consumption of online reviews, how they use that to inform their opinions about businesses and businesses they use, right through to understanding what's going on in the industry. We do a lot of publishing of that research, and it gets picked up in some trade press like Search Engine Land, Search Engine Journal, and also some bigger, more kind of mainstream publications, as you can see up there, which I understand to be pretty proud about. We've also got a stand, or I think we're probably shutting the stand down pretty soon, but we will be at the after party, which I didn't know apparently we're sponsoring the after party, so I'm not quite sure what that means. Not sure I have to stick my hand in my pocket again later on, but if you haven't had the chance to speak to us already, please come and have a drink with us later on. I'll be there with me and my team. Okay, so leveraging your reputation to drive more clicks and calls. What do I mean? I'll explain the word kind of leverage. And the essence of this talk is really about understanding the power of reputation, understanding how you can build a really positive and public online reputation for your business, and then how you can maximize the use of that reputation to drive more business through to you. So it's maximizing that use, the leveraging of it. I might have used the word promote, or even the word kind of amplify. And if I was being particularly commercially aggressive, I'd say it's about exploiting your reputation to have the maximum impact to drive more customers and revenue into your business. There are two parts to my talk. The first part is about demonstrating the impact of reviews, and I'm going to share some recent research that we've done, both kind of consumer research and research on kind of click-through rates, which actually we've never shared the results of this before. It was kind of done in conjunction with this talk at InboundCon. So the data I'm going to share is the first time we've kind of spoken about it publicly outside of the kind of company, so you're hearing it first, which is pretty cool. And the second half, we're going to talk about best practices for managing reviews, how you grow your reputation, and then how you leverage it to drive more customers into your business. We have put together a resources page on BrightLocal, so all the kind of stuff we've mentioned, this slide deck, it's all available at that URL. So don't feel like you have to kind of note things down. Just go to that URL afterwards. You'll get access to all the research and some of the resources we kind of put together. Some of the research, as I said, hasn't been published yet, so you may have to wait a few days before that comes available, but you'll get the key stats anyway. As I said, my background is in kind of local search, and that's kind of what we do. So a lot of the research that we talk about, and a lot of the sort of studies and the kind of activities are really kind of focused on kind of local businesses. That's businesses, I don't know, say accountants or sort of plumbers, businesses that operate within a local area. Their customers operate within a fairly kind of narrow sort of footprint and kind of catchment area. But the power of reputation is relevant to businesses of any size. And so there's lots of kind of salient and useful stuff in here for e-commerce businesses, sort of bigger brands, etc. Quick question. So does reputation have an impact on conversion? And I think the clear answer is yes. And if we just take our marketing hats off for a moment, we put our hats on as consumers, of which we all are, and think about the last time we went and, I don't know, booked a flight or booked a hotel, registered for a kind of online course or looked for a local business, I bet at some point you consulted reviews or you looked at the star ratings for businesses. It's become such a kind of prevalent and sort of pervasive thing these days, online reviews or reviews for businesses and products of all type. So yes, the answer to this question is yes, reputation does have an impact on conversion, but the more pertinent question is, how big is that impact? I want to share some results of some studies we've done that look to put some kind of numbers around the sort of scale of this impact. Now, I love reputation, and what I love about it is I love how powerful it can be. It's a great, great brand asset. And when used effectively from a marketing perspective, it's an incredibly powerful tool. And what reputation provides, it provides basically powerful social proof about a business. And that's great for businesses because it allows them to distill their reputation or distill the kind of business they are, what it's like to use that business down into a sort of simple star rating that consumers, customers, business partners, suppliers, even investors can quickly kind of understand. So it's a very powerful for business owners as a way of communicating the type of business they are and the quality of their business. And for consumers, it's also very powerful as well because when consumers read reviews, they're obviously benefiting from the wisdom of other people who've used a company. And when they're reading reviews, it allows them to kind of shortcut their sort of buying process. They don't have to research things to the nth degree. They can quickly evaluate one business or one product against another, sort of based off the star rating and based off the social proof that's out there from kind of previous consumers. And when they look at the experience that our previous consumers had, they can say with confidence their experience may well be sort of similar to that. So they can shortcut their research process and they can make decisions quicker and with a very high level of confidence. So reviews and reputation are great for businesses and also wonderful for consumers because it really allows us to make decisions quickly and with greater confidence. What I like about reputation is that the power of it isn't confined to search. And it's not even confined to digital media, even though that's probably where today we spend most of our time kind of interacting with customers, gathering reviews and displaying reviews across the internet. And if you think of other sort of marketing assets we have, let's say it's a quality score within AdWords. Quality score is very powerful within AdWords because it helps you reduce your PPC costs. But you can't take your quality score and stick it on a landing page and hope that's going to boost conversion because it's abstract. It doesn't mean anything to consumers outside that kind of AdWords environment. But reputation is very portable and it's very versatile. Once you've kind of got that review and reputation, you could take it and use it in many different places. You can use it on your own site. You can use it in offline marketing, social marketing, within sales materials, within email marketing. So it's very, very versatile and reusable, much so against other sort of marketing assets. So on to looking at some data. So we're going to look now at kind of consumer attitudes to local reviews. And this is a study called the Local Consumer Review Study, which my team at BrightLocal do every year. It's a study that goes out to around 2,000 consumers. We ask them 15 questions relating to their consumption, their attitudes, their sort of beliefs around online reviews. And what we're trying to really understand through this is what impact reviews have on the decision-making of local consumers when they're looking to buy local products or use local businesses. I'm going to share some of the kind of key headline stats. I said we haven't kind of shared the 2016 data yet, so you guys are the first to see it. So I'm going to share some of the key stats, and then I'm going to sort of wrap that up to kind of give a kind of, I guess, a narrative arc of the kind of the kind of trust process and the sort of buying sort of process and steps that a consumer goes through. The first stat is that 91% of consumers read online reviews for local businesses. And this number's remained pretty consistent for the last few years, but what we have noticed that's behind that is that the frequency of which consumers read reviews has gone up enormously. So there are a lot more consumers reading reviews on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis for local businesses, and also for a much greater range of local businesses. It's not just hotels and restaurants. You know, it's salons, it's kind of yoga studios, it's accountants, it's plumbers. All these guys are seeing an increase in the kind of consumption and reading of reviews by consumers looking for their types of services. 84% of consumers trust online reviews as much as local recommendations. So a huge amount of kind of belief and trust is being put into those reviews by consumers, almost as much as a friend recommending a business. So it's enormously sort of powerful, and people are believing in. Even though there is, kind of talk out there about sort of spammy reviews and kind of fake reviews, there's still a high level of trust amongst consumers in what they read online. 68% of consumers say that positive reviews make them trust a business more. And obviously, I think this is probably the third or fourth presentation that talks about developing trust within a relationship between business and consumers, and how important it is to establish that trust, because that is almost like the sort of foundational point at which a relationship, at which a sale can occur afterwards. And ultimately, this reads right through to who a customer uses, with 63% of consumers saying positive reviews make them much more likely to actually use a business. And if we kind of knit all this together, consumers are reading reviews, and they're reading them more frequently for a greater or wider range of businesses. They are trusting reviews more than they ever have done before. That's leading through to greater trust in the businesses that they are researching and reading about online. This leads to who they buy from, and as business owners, this makes us very happy, because obviously we are getting more customers, and that's helping our businesses to kind of thrive and grow. And also happy consumers as well, because they're able to kind of make purchases faster and with greater confidence. And when you look at the factors within the reviews that people are kind of looking at, what factors do they kind of consider and have an impact on the kind of opinions they form and the actions they take? Star rating always comes out on top. I mean, star rating is such a ubiquitous, sort of pervasive aspect, and it's also easy to understand. A 5-star review, everyone knows is better than a 3-star, or a 5-star rating is better than a 4-star. It's such a clear and easy thing to interpret for consumers. But interestingly, kind of behind that, the other factors that I think people are looking at is the sentiment of reviews. So it's not just that kind of top-level, top-line kind of quantitative star rating they're looking at. They're also looking at the kind of qualitative information within reviews. So the sentiment, the words, the kind of what people are actually saying about their experience of a business. People are kind of really kind of digging into that. So they're not just taking a kind of sort of surface level view. They're actually kind of getting into the sort of meat of the experience that people had. And then the third thing is the recency of reviews. And recency is basically freshness, so how recent reviews are written. And that's the third most important kind of critical factor when people are looking at the online reputation, the online social proof of a business. It's actually even higher than the quantity of reviews, which kind of came in sort of fourth place. And in the second part of the presentation, when I talk about managing reviews and reputation, I'll kind of come back to this. It really sort of feeds into the kind of correct sort of strategy and targets that we set for generating reviews. Okay, so this is a brilliantly leading question. I didn't realize I was reading this through. I've actually about 3 or 4 very leading questions in this. So, do reviews boost search click-through rate? We did a study this year, iTeam, and we did a study, again, this has not been shared with anyone before, between June and July, went up to around 6,000 consumers, and what we wanted to understand is what was the kind of click-through rate improvement or sort of reduction when we inserted reviews and ratings into both kind of organic search results and also into kind of local sort of search results. Now, we didn't look at PPC, and I put this on there just to say that there are already a ton of studies out there about how seller ratings improve PPC kind of click-through, but we don't do much PPC ourselves as a business, and also we wanted to kind of look into areas that hadn't been kind of researched that much before. But there's a lot of evidence to say that seller ratings improve PPC. This statistic is from kind of Google AdWords themselves, I think from kind of 2011. But we actually looked at kind of organic search and local search. Looking at the kind of the local pack sort of results, here's an example of kind of how it looked. We presented on the left examples of a local pack with no ratings, and then we inserted kind of ratings into that pack, and we varied the star rating from 1 star up to 5 star. We varied the position as well to get a nice kind of cross-sectional sort of data back. It was around 6,000 consumers that we tested this with. What we found is that positive reviews within the local pack increased clicks by 22%, so a huge uplift, and that was across the different industries and the different sort of samples that we tested. So a really kind of positive improvement on the click-through rate just by inserting a sort of star rating and reviews into the results there. We also did organic search, and again, we had an example of how it looked, and we also inserted the kind of star ratings at various points, kind of 1 to 10, and also sort of varied the star rating. This time we saw an increase in clicks by 5%. So not as big as in the local pack, but that's probably because the local pack has only got 3 results, and the kind of classic kind of organic search has kind of got 10. But still a very positive uplift, and even more positive uplift when you were looking at 4 and 5 star sort of ratings, and also the higher up the results page, we got a much kind of greater level of click-through. So we really saw a really good improvement in the click-through rate when people started to kind of use and push online reviews within their local results and also within their organic results. And when we asked them, why did you choose a particular sort of business? Again, star rating came out head and shoulders as the kind of factor that sort of swayed their decision in terms of which position they kind of clicked on. So did changing the star rating vary the impact? Did it vary the kind of click-through rate and conversion? Again, another brilliant leading question. Yes, it did. But what's interesting, and probably quite expected actually when you think about it, is that click-through rate only increased when someone had more than 3 stars. So if we put a kind of 1-star rating or a 2-star, or actually even a 3-star rating, the click-through rate went down versus the same business when there was no star rating at all. So obviously consumers thought, well, these guys aren't doing a great job, they've not got a good rating, I'm going to go with someone else, even if that someone else doesn't actually have any stars or any kind of online reviews. But once you get above 3 stars to 4 stars and 5 stars, the click-through rate actually starts to jump quite significantly. So yes, as you'd expect, the actual star rating does have a pretty significant impact on the kind of click-through rate. The next one to look at is, or the thing we did look at is that landing pages. So we looked at, this is a conference about being sort of through the funnel. So we started off looking at search. Then we wanted to look at impact on landing pages. So again, we did another study, and again, it's the first time it's been shared. This one actually only ended last month. There was around 3,000 consumers looking at local landing pages and including testimonials and star ratings within the kind of landing pages. We had a kind of sample set without it and a sample set with it. And we found that we found 2 metrics that we were measuring. One is trust, because again, trust is the sort of foundational platform which a sale will occur. Positive reviews increased trust by 11% when used on kind of local landing pages, alongside forms, alongside a kind of other calls to action. So a really good positive uplift in the trust that reviews engender, not just within search, but also on a business's website. And that led through to a kind of 6% increase in the contact, or the willingness to contact by consumers to a local business. So we can see both within search and on landing pages that reviews and ratings have a positive impact. So going to move on to the second half of the presentation now about managing, best practices for managing reviews. But what we've, established so far is that consumers are reading reviews more and more. They're trusting in the information they're getting from those reviews, and that's having an impact on the businesses that they use. We put some numbers around search and local search and landing pages to really kind of see what the usage or the kind of leveraging of that reputation in those environments can do to kind of conversion. So now I want to talk about how we establish a reputation, best practices for managing it and growing it in a kind of systematic way, and then also how to leverage it both online and offline. It really boils down to having an effective review strategy. And by effective, I mean a strategy that is tried, tested, and delivers on a kind of systematic basis, kind of month after month. You can almost kind of sort of set it to run, and it just kind of keeps on delivering. That's kind of what we're looking for here. Something that takes a minimum requirement of additional effort and kind of brain cycles every month, and something we can rely on to deliver results month after month. There are 6 pillars of an effective review strategy, and I'm going to talk through each of those in some detail now. The first one is about setting clear targets. Now, we're all kind of data marketers, or at least we like to kind of think we are, so we love setting ourselves targets, and we love measuring our performance against those targets, so we know if we're going to hit those targets or if we need to kind of change up our strategy and do something a little bit different to ensure that we hit it. But with reviews, we need to kind of be setting, obviously, the right targets and understand what the kind of point of setting targets is. Now, this is probably a question that many of you have been asked by someone internally or by a customer. How many reviews do I need? I mean, you may never have been asked it by Chuck Norris holding a fistful of Semtex, but it's still a pretty explosive question. And luckily, the answer is simple. You need 16 reviews, as we all know. Well, of course, it would be really great if we could provide such a simple, clear answer to that particular question, but unfortunately that's not the case. In reality, it all depends on the type of business, the location, the competitiveness. It's a much more sort of nuanced scenario. So let's think about it in a little bit of a sort of different way. What are reviews? What are we trying to do with our reviews and that kind of social proof that we've got about a business? We're trying to convince customers to trust us. And so we need enough reviews to convince a customer or a consumer to trust our business, or at least enough reviews to convince a consumer to trust the social proof and the star rating that we've got out there. So that's the kind of way to think about it, is what the objective of having kind of reputation is. Now, the more reviews you have, the greater the social proof. If you've got a 1-star rating, a 5-star rating with 1 review, people are going to think, well, it could be a fake review, it could be spammy, it might be completely anomalous. But if you've got a 4.5-star rating with 500 reviews, then that gives you a lot more weighting to the social proof that's out there. So more reviews, greater the social proof. You can never have too many reviews. You never hear of a consumer going, there's no way I'm using that business because they've got way too many good reviews. That is not a problem that businesses or kind of consumers have. The problem is actually that there's a diminishing return to getting more reviews. So if you've got no reviews and you get 50, that gives you a huge amount of social proof about your business that will help convince a lot more consumers to use you. But if you've got 500 reviews and you add 50, that additional 50 doesn't have the same incremental value uplift that the first sort of 50 had. So when setting targets, we don't want to set like a big global target. We want to say, hey, let's get 500 reviews, and that's going to be enough for us. Because we need to think about the freshness of reviews. And you remember before, from this chart, the recency or freshness of reviews is the third biggest factor that consumers look at. So they're looking at how recently the reviews are, and another quick stat, if we dig into it a little bit more, 73% of consumers think that reviews that are older than 3 months are no longer relevant. So if you had reviews from May, consumers are going to be discounting those reviews quite a lot, particularly in sort of fast-paced, faster-moving industries like, say, hotels, restaurants, cafes, where there's a lot of customers coming through the door on a daily basis, quite maybe a lot of staff turnover. Your business might change and fluctuate in its quality quite a lot, as opposed to, say, slower-moving businesses like, I don't know, sort of shipbuilding or manufacturing or accountancy or dry cleaning, where things don't change that much. People will probably look at reviews over a longer period of time. So we need to think about generating reviews month after month. And there's also another sort of very positive aspect about generating reviews month after month, is that it allows us to be shielded from negative reviews. I love this picture. This is a bunch of guys being pelted with tomatoes. I think it's some sort of big Spanish festival that goes on every year. And essentially, imagine a scenario, you've got 50 reviews, but the last ones were back in May, and suddenly you have a bad week at work, and a few customers come along, and they really kind of go at you online, they really put some bad reviews out there. Those negative reviews are going to sit at the top of the page, right? So when customers come to your Yelp profile, or to Facebook, or to Google, and they see your latest reviews, they're going to see these 3 negative reviews sitting on top of all your positive reviews. And those negative reviews are going to have a greater kind of share of voice over your kind of positive reviews. But if you've got a program that's generating more positive reviews, it's going to push those negative reviews further down the page. It's literally going to push them down out of the eye line of potential kind of consumers and really kind of dilute the impact that they have. So that's the importance of generating new reviews month after month, is the freshness and also the fact that it kind of combats this potential flow of negative reviews that might come along at some point. So in terms of targets, you need monthly incremental targets as opposed to large, kind of big, kind of global targets. And the incremental targets are actually based on the kind of industry you're in and how realistic it is to generate reviews. It could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 50. It's all kind of dependent on the nature of the business and how many customers you serve in a kind of typical month. But make sure it's a kind of monthly incremental target. And this is a photo of me earlier on today. As I like to say, push on, you could do it. Don't just get 10 reviews and stop. You want to kind of keep going on. Don't get 10 and be satisfied and stick there. Okay, so now you've established kind of the targets you want. Let's talk about how you can actually generate reviews to kind of deliver and hit those targets. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. It just comes down to asking customers to review you. But there's a little bit of science around generating or setting up a systematic process for doing that, when you ask and how you ask. But remember the stat that 91% of consumers read reviews? It's highly likely that anyone coming to your business, coming to your clients' businesses, would have read reviews on that journey to get through to you. So it's not going to be an alien concept to them. We did actually ask consumers, how many of you have been asked to leave reviews before? And if you were asked, how many of you actually left reviews? We found that 70% of people who were asked to leave a review ended up going on and doing so. So if you ask 10 people to leave a review, you should be able to get 7 reviews out of it. That's a pretty good return on the effort investment in doing that. it needs to be part of a kind of, it's kind of baked in to your kind of sales process or your sort of service process. You don't want to leave it as an afterthought. You don't want to make it something that you do sometimes and sometimes you don't do and you kind of forget about it or make it one person's job. It needs to be something that your team is brought in to do. Everyone who's in a kind of customer-facing role should understand the importance and the value of online reviews, and it should be all a shared collective responsibility to kind of generate those reviews. So make it a sort of fixed part of the sort of sales process, and then it's something you can pretty much just set up and run, and it will kind of deliver results. If you have to think about it each time, you've got to keep stirring the pot, it makes it much more difficult. So make it a fixed part of the sales process that everyone who's involved in that process, involved in the kind of customer service or customer-facing aspect, is brought into and understands. The timing of when you ask is important to the success. You really want to make sure you ask when customer satisfaction is at the highest, which is usually just after you've delivered your great service. When these guys are a red-hot customer and they are basking in the glow of your wonderful service, that is the time to go and ask them to review you. If you leave it too long, you give them the chance for their enthusiasm to cool off, they forget about you, they forget about just how excited they were about the service you delivered, and they're much less likely to leave a review. So timing of it is absolutely critical. And you may want to consider a stepped approach. Sometimes just launching in and asking for a review may seem intimidating or a bit too kind of heavy-handed, or it might not be the right time. So you can take a stepped approach. And this is something that we do in our business, and also there's a number of kind of automated review sort of management tools out there, a few which I'll mention in a minute, that use this in a kind of very nice fashion. And what you might do is get a small commitment first. Ask them to review verbally, get an email address, and then follow up with an email. Once they've given you that kind of verbal commitment, they've almost kind of signed on the dotted line. They've kind of committed to showing you, or kind of committed to kind of following through on that act. People like to be seen to be acting consistently. So they said one thing, they're unlikely to kind of go against that sort of further down the line. So, if you can't get to write a review on the spot, then ask them, then follow up with an email. We actually use an NPS survey, so we get people to kind of essentially rate us and how much they're likely to kind of recommend us. And the positive ones, we then follow up asking them to say, well, thanks, it's great that you like us, please leave us an email, or please leave us a review. And we get great results from that, and the slightly more negative ones we kind of funnel into our kind of customer service and try and identify why we didn't deliver a service that they were kind of particularly happy with and try and turn that into a positive. And so get a small commitment first. That's when you go in for the kill. That's when you ask them to give you a review. And I know another picture of Arnie, this time with a four-socket rocket launcher, isn't particularly positive, but I thought he looked so mean that I had to somehow get that into the slide deck. But it's about getting that small commitment and then kind of following up with a sort of bigger request. So you're not sort of hitting them sort of straight off the bat with the request. Now these are four of the kind of again, kind of locally orientated sort of management systems for kind of online reviews. We've done a bit of the kind of legwork in terms of research. If you guys are interested in these, we put together a guide that compares these and a couple of others, that compares the pricing, compares the features. The link is on the resources page, so you can kind of go there to see it, and hopefully that'll allow you to kind of accelerate your research process if you're looking at one of these particular services. Now you've got to work out which sites are right for you, because there are so many sites out there, some that are general, some that are specific to industries. You want to select the best sites for your particular business, and you need to work out how you select those sites. You don't want to kind of build reviews on too many sites, because if you do that, you end up diluting the social proof. If you've got 3 reviews there, 4 reviews over here, 10 over here, you never built up that kind of weight of social proof that becomes really convincing for kind of customers. So you want to identify maybe 2, 3, or even 4 review sites that are kind of really critical to your business, and then you want to kind of drill down and focus your attention on generating the reviews on those sites, as well as generating reviews on your own site as well. You want to avoid using sites that are too small, so sites that have a very small audience, because that won't generate much business for you. Sites that are irrelevant, obviously it's the wrong type of audience. And sites that become forgotten, so sites that are too small that they won't survive over time. So any reviews you generate there, the impact of those is going to be short-lived. You want things that will stand the test of time and deliver value for you long-term. Good places to look, start with Google, pretty obviously. Look on page 1, do a brand search, do a product search, see which sites Google is ranking on there. This is an example for a plumber, you've got Thumbtack and Angie's List on there. You can even go a bit deeper into Google, look at the knowledge panel. Google now pulls in reviews from around the web into there. And what this is good for is Google is basically identified which sites they think are relevant and high quality for your particular business or particular kind of industry. And because Google is putting them on page 1 of the knowledge panel, they're probably getting a fair amount of traffic, and that gives them a better than average chance of kind of long-term survival in terms of their business model. So any reviews you get on these sites, they'll be around long-term for potential customers to see and evaluate you on. You also want to look at where you've already got reviews. So, where are your consumers already congregating? Where have they got accounts? Make it easy for them to review you by going to the sites they're already on, and if you've already got a star rating, then you're already one step up the kind of review ladder. So essentially, fish where the fish are. Consider the type of audience. I really should have used the Blue Jays picture here. Sorry about that. I'm not quite sure who these guys are, but a Blue Jays image probably would have been better. But consider the type of audience. You want to go for sites with a large audience or a loyal audience. Large is like a Facebook or a Google My Business. So huge audience, tons of potential customers to drive business to you. Or a loyal audience, a Yelp, whether it's Yelpers or a TripAdvisor. These people, they read a lot of reviews, they write a lot of reviews, they're really kind of committed to generating reviews on those sites. And again, these businesses are likely to be around for the long term. So consider the nature of the audience. It either go large or go loyal. And then also highly relevant niche sites are good to look at. There are lots of different niche sites for different industries. An example is ZocDoc, one for medical industries. The great thing about these sites is that the consumers you find on these sites have a high intensity and a high intent to purchase. And because they go to these sites, you can do great things like you get additional content like qualifications and experience. You can look about which doctors are relevant for your insurance network, so you can kind of filter out ones that aren't relevant, and you can book an appointment. So you may get less traffic and less visits from these guys, but they're likely to be higher converting. So really good to kind of look at which sites are relevant for your particular industry. Got a couple of resources to go along with the one about the analysis or the comparison, the automated review services. This is a quick review site scoring matrix. It's a kind of Google Doc that you can kind of download. It just allows you to score the different sites you're considering on a number of different factors, and then you get a kind of overall quality score. There's nothing too kind of whizzy in the kind of back-end algorithm, but it just allows you to assess sort of side by side the different options in review sites. And we've also put together basically an analysis or a page that looks at around 200, 250 review sites on different industries and different countries. So if you're doing some work for a kind of florist in Edmonton, or you're doing an accountant in Las Vegas, you can go on there and see which review sites are relevant and applicable for that particular business. Again, we tried to help you guys out by shortcutting the kind of research process that you might go through. Then we've got the bad side of negative reviews. And negative reviews do happen, right? It happens to everyone. It's happened to us in the past. Sometimes things go wrong. Our delivery doesn't meet up with the expectations that kind of customers have got. So you just have to accept it and try to do your best to manage it through. The worst thing you could do is ignore it. Stick your head in the sand, hope it's going to go away, do nothing about it, and hope that your customers don't see it. That won't happen. Those reviews will stay there for a long time. Consumers will read them, they'll evaluate them, they'll also evaluate the fact that you haven't bothered to kind of respond to them or kind of do anything about them, and that will rub off on you in a negative way. What you need to do is reduce the impact, kind of dilute the impact of those negative reviews. We looked at one way of doing that earlier, which is generating more positive reviews that push the negative reviews down the page and down to the eye line and kind of dilute the impact that they have. But you also want to respond positively and publicly. Does everyone know this is a film called Braveheart? Has everyone seen Braveheart? This is the Scottish people basically responding to some English taunts, so they're going to come and invade their kind of country. I really couldn't find an interesting picture for responding positively and publicly, so I came up with this one. It's definitely public, and from a Scottish perspective, it's definitely positive. So you want to respond positively and publicly to any negative reviews you get. And what you really want to do is to identify the issues and try and resolve them publicly. Just show customers that you listen and that you care and that you really give a shit about the problems your customers have, and that you're prepared to front up and say, yeah, you know what, we didn't do something right, I'm sorry about that, and here's how I'm going to make amends. It can really do wonders to turn a negative situation into a positive one. And we had a situation like this in about sort of March of this year, where I woke up one day, thought, brilliant, normal day, turn on my phone, and I had like a message from Yelp, a message from Facebook, a message from G2 Crowd, with the same annoyed, irritated customer who posted the same appalling review in 3 different places. My first thought was like, oh my God, I can't believe this person hates us that much. They've kind of gone and done this. And I was like sort of furious about it. Which I kind of calmed down, I kind of got in touch with them, and we kind of worked through what had gone on. There'd be some miscommunication, and he just happened to be in a particularly kind of volatile mood. And at the end of the process, he took what was a really appalling 1-star review and put a great 5-star review out there. Just kind of changed it all. Just because we showed him that we cared, we talked through the issues, and we just kind of turned it around. A lot of it was a kind of misunderstanding. And you can turn a negative situation into a positive one. The worst thing you can do is go out there and attack the reviewer. Go out there and kind of criticize them, deem it as slander or do whatever. You'll be fanning the flames of the negativity around your business. And then you get into a really kind of sort of long-winded sort of slagging match between you and them. And it's just not positive. Don't do it. Just try and nip it in the bud, get a resolution quickly, and move on. It's much more healthy a business practice and approach. Educating and incenting staff is something that doesn't get done very often. Essentially, you need to help your staff understand the significance of reviews and explain the consumer journey from looking for a business, reading reviews, evaluating, building trust, using. Make them understand the process and also put it in terms that they understand. More customers, leads to more revenue, leads to stronger business, and that's more job security. It might even be more money to them. Phrase it in a way they can understand the process that consumers go to, and they can understand the benefits to the company and to them. And also kind of make it worth their while. If you're proud of the work they do, make them understand and make them kind of take value out of the reviews they get. Some businesses actually use it as part of an evaluation process. I know a kind of pest control company down in America, and they evaluate all their kind of practitioners based on the reviews they get. And they set it as their kind of targets. And actually, they also use it as part of their kind of career progression. They really kind of make it count to the individual. They really kind of make it tangible to them. And they get thousands of reviews, and they just absolutely kill it from a reputation marketing perspective. And it's not a negative thing. You're not holding someone out to dry by saying you get reviews or you're in trouble. It's like take pride in the work you do, get these reviews, and we'll make it worth your while, either through sort of bonuses or kind of career progression. It has a really kind of paramount effect on the way people adopt this sort of reputation marketing. And lastly, about leveraging reputation. So we've gone to the effort of building reputation, we've got a process, and it's, what does that say? Wrap it up, wrap it up. Do you think she's going to run on and drag me off if I take too long? I'm going to wrap this up. So leveraging reputation. We've talked about how you can use it in search results and how you can use it on landing pages to drive kind of click-through rate. You can also use it in Twitter. So every time you get a review, put it on Twitter. Anyone who comes to your Twitter profile, if you pin it up there, they're going to see it. They're going to see a positive review. They're going to see that you're proud of it and that you care about your reputation and what your customers are saying. Similarly, on Facebook, you can kind of use it in those environments. You can use it on Facebook ads to kind of drive up the conversion from those. You can use it in email marketing, display, retargeting, and then you can kind of take it offline. You can use it in leaflets and flyers if you're a physical business that's still part of your kind of marketing mix, and in business cards. Reputation is powerful and portable. It can stretch the social proof about a business from where you gather it online into so many other channels and aspects of your online marketing. It can really become the crucial factor, the decisive factor within your sort of marketing strategy that makes a lot more customers use your business. So that is, again, the URL that's got all the resources. Like I said, some of them are up there. Some of the research we haven't yet published, but it'll be up there very soon. And we will obviously let guys from InboundCon know when it's available, and they can sort of circulate it out. This is my contact details. Please feel free to email me. We'll also be outside after this and in the bar or the after party afterwards. Yeah, and that's us. Thank you very much.